Hello, everyone. My name is Cassandra Williamson. I'm coming to you from Hardy, Kentucky, which is in Pike County, which is also right along the Tug River, separating West Virginia from Kentucky. And also, we're not too far from the Virginia border. So actually, I'm in Hatfield-McCoy feud country for those of you watching and wish to know those kind of details. Little update really quickly on my mom and family here that I'm a caregiver for. They're good. Mom goes in tomorrow morning for a doctor's appointment, diagnostic scan. I think she's doing well at 86. She's doing really well. My brother's breathing problems are still there. Went to a lung doctor today and has to go have a scan done later. Have another appointment another time. And my sister doing well as well. And cousin's doing well too. She doesn't live in this particular household. So yeah, they asked me to come back here and kind of be the caregiver for them. Sorry about that. So I did. I'm free. I'm retired. My children are grown out. Grandkids are out. So I've got the time to do it, the resources to pull it off. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And thankful also that they invited me into their home here to be here for them. And it is difficult. It is a challenge. It sure is. Being a caregiver for adults is a difficult and challenging thing. And so I take it every day, each day, one day at a time, and move forward. Tomorrow, like I said before, I got to take Mom over to Pikeville Medical Center for a diagnostic scan. And so everything's well in that regard. Let's see, anything else around the local area that we can talk about really quickly? Oh, if you're into ATVs and riding and all that kind of stuff, this is the place to be. I mean, there are so many trails here. Hatfield-McCoy trail system in Kentucky and West Virginia. It's used extensively by lots of people. So in Williamson, West Virginia, which those of you who don't know, it's a family thing. So, and I've threatened to take back over the town. They kind of destroyed it. It was created in 1895. But anyway, yeah, the Hatfield-McCoy trail system is really wide open. Lots of people come here year round, really, and bring their ATVs, their families, their companies, and, do the outdoors thing. And I'm glad of that. That's the biggest industry in the area right now. There used to be coal mining around here. There are lots of mines still here in the area. Several, not lots, I should say. There are several. Nowhere near what it used to be the many years ago when I grew up here in the hills of eastern Kentucky, Forest Hills, actually, in Pike County. And then it used to be the heart of the $1 billion coal field. When you go into West Virginia, Williamson, across the river from South Williamson, Kentucky, all of that area, you go over in there, is the heart of the $1 billion coal field. Well, that sign's no longer there. It just says, "Welcome to Williamson, Hatfield-McCoy ATV Trail Systems." So I'm glad they've got something to continue keeping people engaged and employed and stuff, and that's really crucial. There's a lot of things that impact this area. This is a deep red Trump country place where I'm located right now. But you know what the biggest thing about all of this is? The people here. I go around every day, just about every day. I go out into town, into the stores and the restaurants. I do DoorDash on the side because it kind of gives me a little extra way to get out of the house and kind of keep myself centered, and also to engage with people. And that's the best part about it, really, is being able to engage with people and go up in all kinds of, around here they call them hollers. Okay, it's spelled HOLLOW, hollow, but here in the hills, it's called holler. So I go up in all of these really, really narrow hollers. Okay. But everywhere I've been in Mingo County, West Virginia, it was Williamson is the county seat. Over here in Pike County in Kentucky, all the different places that I go, people actually are live and let live kind of people here. Yeah, most of them voted for Trump. That's fine. I have no problem with that. He's done some good things. He's done some horrible things, but he's also done some good things. Bombing of Iran was one thing he did that I actually agree with. Bombing of the nuclear sites. They're still doing the assessment, the damage assessment, but we'll have to wait and see. There was a classified report that came out from the Defense Intelligence Agency. Somebody leaked it, and I'm sure that person will be reprimanded severely for leaking that report. But it said that it looked as if the strikes on the nuclear facilities had not accomplished their goal of destroying the ability of Iran to produce nuclear weapons. At most, it said that the delay was probably 6 months at most, because it's relatively easy to clear out a bunch of rubble and crap, get it out of your way and get back in. Because those things were way underground and they were hardened, and these 30,000-pound bombs can go maybe 100 feet, maybe 60 feet to 100 feet, maybe. And then you send another one behind it. You might get a little closer, but it's still a long way down to where they had these things. So we're still awaiting the results of that. But anyway, people here in Appalachia, everywhere that I have been, are live and let live. They haven't said squat to me. And you can hear all of these keyboard warriors over here on X.com just going after everything, and they're trying to engage in an intellectual level with me on a lot of different topics, and I appreciate that. I really do. I'm very glad for that, because I've also studied an awful lot. Got an academic background. Jeez. So it's really exciting to me when someone can present their story, present their arguments, and then back it up with some evidence. That gives me an opportunity to study and learn something I may not have known before. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to agree with what they're doing. If the evidence says one thing, then I have to go with the evidence, because, the authorities, people who actually know what they're doing and who are writing about it and have peer-reviewed articles and stories and studies published, those are the ones that I actually will turn to and trust more than anyone else. And I do know, just so you know, I do know that peer-reviewed system can be abused. I've seen it before. We've all seen that. We've all heard the stories and the horror stories of that. But it's still better than not having that peer-reviewed case, okay? So anytime someone can present to me another argument about something, and today's conversation over on X, by the way, was about Munchausen syndrome and also parental abuse of kids, particularly female kids that end up that become transgender youth, okay? And that the suicide rate stays in that range, the psychological problems stay that way, the sexual abuse problems just exacerbate all these things. And I'm looking at some of those studies, and I'm willing to entertain that and look at it. I still do think, though, that the studies are relatively, one of them actually had over 1,000 participants, but another study only had 70. 35 were transgender adolescents, and 35 were from a comparable population. And so out of that study, you can't really extrapolate any kind of result to a larger population. It's only applicable to that one particular population. But on the larger studies, and the more people who participate in them, the better the studies are, right? But it also has to do with the scientists who are actually studying those things. What are their proclivities? What are their interests? And who is paying for things for them? That's a lot of it as well. And then, especially now, here's the thing, though. The thing that I don't see any one of these people talking about are the 96,000 transgender people who responded to a survey with just in 2022. That study's out there. That study's out there too. The 96,000 transgender Americans responded to a survey and answered a bunch of questions. I did. I answered a bunch. I encouraged a lot of friends to do that. And also within the VA system, the Veterans Affairs, since I'm a veteran. So I was part of a team that actually created a survey for transgender veterans. And we had over 6,000 veterans just respond to that. And that was a fantastic thing to see, a great number. And a lot of the people want to know if it's PTSD related or sexual abuse related and stuff like that. No. Well, there may be a case for it with some of the kids. Some, I don't know yet. I've got to look in more detail into that. I'm willing to look at all these things. I'm willing to also say that we need to do more research. However, the people opposed to this in the current administration not only want the words banned, but also want the research banned. They're defunding all the research that would help study these things even further. Why? Well, because, they don't even want people like me to exist openly in society. Many of them actually want us to go back into mental health institutions. Back like when Alan Turing was subjected to electroshock therapy in the 50s because he was a gay man, even though this man had solved the Enigma riddle during World War II that the Germans were using, the Enigma machine, the coding machine that the Germans were using. He is the one who solved that, but yet when they found out that he was gay, they locked him up in an institution, applied electroshock therapy to this man. And then they had the lavender scare in the 50s. What's happening today with transgender people is directly related to all of that stuff right there. Right there. The same stuff that was going on then, the same kind of thinking, it's all directly tied to that period of time, really. Trans people, without the name trans, have been around throughout time across all animal species. And all you have to do is study the genetics, study the science, and you can see that there's no such thing as a binary in any of this. There's no such thing as a binary man or a woman. It's on a sliding scale. You know what a slider switch is? Like a light switch, it kind of dims brightly, and it dims and then gets really bright, and you can dim it and get really bright and stuff like that. Well, on either end, if you had male and female or masculine and feminine, you can slide that switch in between those things. Right in the middle will be androgynous. Okay. But all are possible with varying degrees of possibility. We know that. That's the science. We know that's there. These people exist. And they exist not because of abuse from anyone. Yes, there may be some cases of that. That's entirely possible. As a matter of fact, there's a good chance of it. And also the Munchausen syndrome, that's also possible. I think it's 1 out of 100 people have experience with that, where mothers actually try to get their children to be sick, or they act sick even though they're not. That's Munchausen syndrome. They're trying to get your pity, your whatever. They keep saying they're sick. They go to the doctor all the time. They take the kids to the doctor all the time, but the kids aren't sick. We've seen those stories in the news. That's Munchausen syndrome, okay? Diagnosing it is extremely difficult. Usually it ends up, the only way to figure it out is through legal action, or they get arrested for something and they find out about that. They see it then. But the case is, for most of us, most people in this community, that kind of thing is not frequent. Of the 96,000 that reported, I haven't seen that part of the study yet. I don't know for sure, but I have seen some of that one, the 96,000 U.S. trans survey. Well, it's fascinating. It really is fascinating. I know a lot of the people who helped build that thing, implement that thing, roll it out across the country, some really fantastic people I got to know over the years. And, it's such a joy to work with people like that. It's smart, intelligent people who know what they're doing and are able to communicate it clearly and able to do the work and then get the results so that we can analyze those results, good or bad. We're not looking for support. We're not looking for denial. We're looking for the data. And that's what we have to work on. And what I'm seeing over on X.com, just earlier, a few minutes ago, it seemed like, is that we've got some people who mean well, and they actually are trying to help get information out. But the thing that they're doing is they're looking at it all through an echo chamber. And typically that's what I'm seeing. I could be wrong. I mean, I know I don't know it all, but yet I know some people who think they know it all. I'm willing to say that I need to learn more. Are you? So there's so much more that we need to be doing and studying and researching. We can't just say that everything that the people in the echo chamber that's called transgender is actually the correct thing to be doing. We can't say that the people over here in the echo chamber that's over on the conservative side, we can't say that that's all the best thing to be doing. There is a way to answer questions on all sides, but we have to be willing to go after the science and have the people participating in these studies, actually designing the studies, the study design team, they have got to be ideologically diverse. We can't have echo chambers designing these things and actually have other people accept it. If you want to get results that people will look at and accept, whether you like the results or not, that team needs to be, one, representative, but it also needs to be cross-sectional in terms of political views, ideological views. People have those things with them all the time. You can't, even in academia, you can't differentiate. You can't pull apart your own mind and say, okay, I'm going to set aside my liberal views or set aside my conservative views so that I can go in this direction. No, that's people who tell you they can do that are just lying to you flat out. They can't do that. You carry the baggage with you. You learned it along the way in your life. So the research that has to be done has got to be, the team has got to be diverse. You've got to have scientists to know what they're doing and how to do statistical analyses and all that kind of stuff, and do the data gathering and writing up the questions and the survey questions and designing these teams, so designing this kind of survey so that it is not biased as much as possible. We all carry our biases into these things, no matter what. But we've got to be able to have a conversation around the things we do know and the things we don't know, but it has to be factually based. And we have to come to an understanding that we're not talking about 1950 science anymore. We're talking about 2020, 2025 science. The world changes. We learn more. At least we should be. Yeah, I kind of got off into another topic. So with that, I want to say, if anybody has any comments, you can put them down there in the chat section. I do not mind having some people in here who have different ideas, different views, who say some stupid crap, who might even say an occasional F-bomb like Trump did this morning on his way to get onto Air Force One when he was talking about Iran and Israel. So let's see. I see something down here in the chat. I'm going to go down and take a look at it. I don't know who it might be. Hi. And Junia says, that's the same approach that I take, just as I did when I was in the military. I took the good sources with the bad sources and tried to make the best course between the two. Yes, agreed, Junia. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's what strategic thinking is all about, really. But strategic thinking is more than that, though. To be a good strategic thinker requires that you understand the other perspective. You not just walk in another person's shoes or another culture's shoes, but you can actually think from that perspective. Doesn't mean you accept what you see or what you hear or what you have in front of you, but you can at least walk in those shoes, and you know your enemies, or you know your differences, you know the people who think differently than you better than yourself, really. That way, whenever you do have some encounter, then you can see the perspectives, you can understand each other better. And at least, hopefully, you can have a dialogue, have some kind of conversation that's based on reality, okay? That's a huge other topic for a lot of people to deal with. I get it. I understand that. Okay, so as I said at the top of the show, this is Cassandra Williamson with The Path Forward. and I'm coming to you from Pike County, Kentucky. It's a beautiful little area. You should find some time to come up in this area. Come over here or up down here or wherever you are. Come here and bring your ATVs, UTVs. Get out here in these mountains in Hatfield-McCoy feud country and explore the wilderness. There are bears, antelope. There's bears and other things in these woods around here. All right. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for participating and watching and listening. And remember, I do this at noon-ish Eastern and 6 p.m. Eastern every weekday.